Thanks very much for agreeing to have a chat about Nutcote here today, Peter, and your involvement with Nutcote and your thoughts on the future of Nutcote. Can I begin by asking you, was May Gibbs and her artwork part of your childhood?
It was, but I actually preferred Blinky Bill. Being a little kid, I always found the Banksia men quite frightening, so, but I think May Gibbs had a reason for that. She had a point to make about looking after the environment, and I think you can see that through these characters, that the Banksia men perhaps were the Donald Trumps of this world. So I think she saw good and evil, struggle of good and evil in her work, and the Banksia men took on the role of the ones you should be watching out for.
Could you say a bit about her abilities as an artist?
Well, she was able to very accurately capture all the flora of Australian bush. And she looked at things and carefully looked at them and studied them, and she got things right. And she didn't bring colour in till a bit later. She used to do colour plates in her books, so it was mainly her drawings that used to carry the day. May Gibbs was a major force, the way she married her stories to her illustrations. And there's so much to tell about the May Gibbs story, but one thing that always gave me a clue to her character was that her cousin, or second cousin, Marion Shand, used to visit her often here. And she said to Marion Shand that she wanted to live long enough to discover where those flying saucers come from. And I think that someone who'd say something like that would be a pretty interesting character. When I moved to North Sydney, and I discovered that her house was here, I used to come around here when it was derelict and sit in the garden. She had a beautiful old Banksia tree down on the front, and I'd talk to her friend Mrs. Devine, who lived in the beautiful Federation House next door. She used to talk to May across the fence, so it was wonderful to feel May's presence here. And then became the struggle to save the house, which was very complicated by UNICEF owning the house, inheriting it. They weren't allowed to hold it as a property, therefore it had to be auctioned. But to North Sydney Council's credit, they did buy Nutcote, and they've held on to it, and it's been preserved, and it's pretty fantastic. How many years later are we now? 69 to 2020.
Well, when May dies in 69, the house, as you said, was bequeathed to UNICEF, and then it was sold, and it may have been developed. The campaign to save it begins in the late 80s, and the foundation is begun in 87, and then council buys it in 1990. And it opens as a museum in 94. So you were part of the movement to help save it.
More than, and I fell away a bit when it was opened, but Yvonne Hyde was very instrumental in keeping it on course. Over many years, Yvonne put into her life into Nutcote, and she was a great constant of trying not to sell fake May Gibbs works.
Right. What was Yvonne's vision for the place, and what was your vision for the place, or your desire for it?
To keep it in character with her books and her life. I don't think that charities are doing a great job, and that they shouldn't allow people to redraw her work and keep the purity of May Gibbs. That's the responsibility they have. Because
and your reference to the charities are the organisations which actually own the copyright of the work now, which is not owned by North Sydney Council.
No. May left it to the Crippled Children and the Nutcote Society. But they should look at their charter of looking after her heritage and her integrity. There are some terrible things that are sold as May Gibbs' work that aren't. I just think that it's important to say these things.
Yeah. What was the garden like? Similar to what's here now, or very different?
It was dominated by a big canary palm tree, you know, big, what do you call it, a canary?
Phoenix canariensis is the Latin term, big canary island palm.
Well, they made a decision to get rid of that.
But there are some plantings here from May's time.
There are, they're mainly the roses. These are the original Dorothy Perkins roses that May had, and these never stopped growing here. So these would be the most authentic things in the garden that May actually planted. And Yvonne Hyde nurtured them, and here they are back on the fence again. Yeah. And over here we have the caterpillar hedge that Yvonne Hyde realised. Here are this is the head of it. So Yvonne was very cleverly had it cut like a caterpillar. Pretty clever, I think. And all the roses have got sent to them. They're all old-fashioned roses that would have been here.
These date to May's time as well, the roses?
Yes,
alongside the hedge?
Yep. They do, yeah. And the magnolia tree planted by Helen Woods, which has really taken off, hasn't it?
One of the interesting things I find about gardens is that they're dynamic. They change all the time. So trying to preserve a garden in a particular moment of time is very difficult. And this one has evolved over time.
It has.
But has done so sensitively.
Yes.
Now I can just see over here, Peter, a couple of your creations. Let's just wander over there and have a look at those.
Here's a Biv and Bub, done in bronze. So I made them in plasticine and had them cast in bronze. So they've been there quite a long time now.
What's the date on there? Do we have a date? 1999.
Yeah.
Good,
yeah. And that's the Irish rondelle. Oh, here's the emergency assembly point. I didn't know about that. Wonder what that's all about.
Is that one of your signs?
No, that's Yvonne Hyde's.
Right, okay.
It's good to capture that. So here's the magnificent tree planted by Helen Woods too.
And I'm just looking at the sign there, and that says that was planted in 1999 as well.
Oh, really?
Which means it's done extraordinarily well. Yeah. The same time that you put in these statues.
Yeah. This gum tree's growing beautifully over here that Helen Woods put in. Look at that, isn't that nice?
So it is interesting that May, who makes so much of the Australian bush, nonetheless has an English cottage garden, and the eucalypts and the natives that you see have been planted after her.
Absolutely.
She, of course, was of English heritage. She emigrated out to Western Australia originally.
She was born in England.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. So here's the house.
What are your earliest memories of the house, Peter?
Well, it was just nicely neglected. I liked it, the look of it. We do have some plans for the repainting of the house. It's completely wrong. And we're going to go to the sky blue shutters, which Marion Shand said that she remembered them sky blue when she came here to see her second cousin May. And this is wrong. It's going to be pastel ochre instead of yellow. So we're going to get that underway soon. Yeah. And get the right colours. Oh, there's my scissors I left here the other day.
Grab those before we forget them again.
Yeah. And we're hoping to do it in lime wash because this house was designed by a very famous architect, whose name will come to me soon.
B.J. Waterhouse.
B.J. Waterhouse.
That's right.
And it's a mini mansion. It's a wonderful little place.
Well, it's very unusual for B.J. Waterhouse.
Is it?
Because it's done in the Mediterranean style. Ah. And B.J. Waterhouse specialised in arts and crafts English revival. And therein lies another sort of paradox, because here's May, the English immigrant with an English garden, choosing a Mediterranean style house from an architect who normally designs English revival houses. So all of those questions remain unanswered in my mind anyway. Now these hydrangeas, Peter, were they here originally, or
yes, they would be. Now here is something interesting. The devil on the knocker. This is the original.
That's original.
That's original.
Well, that reminds me of Norman Lindsay.
Or Rosalind Norton. You know,
Of course, yes, indeed.
The devil here.
Yeah.
So isn't that, maybe the devil's here to, as a warning, not to pull up plants by their roots, which was May's message to children all the time. This is a beautiful blue hydrangea here. What a beauty that is.
It sure is.
Here's another
Stunning.
one of my sculptures here,
Oh, good.
which is Mrs. Kookaburra. She was a benign character, I think.
How do you actually create these
I make
sculptures,
them in
Peter?
plasticine and then take them to the foundry and they make a mould and then they make a lost wax.
Right. Literally plasticine.
Plasticine,
Yeah.
white plasticine, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So that's 2018 on that one.
Yeah. So we move on down. Another one of Helen Woods' gum trees that she planted.
Oh, goodness.
It's huge. And there's one here and one there.
Well, that looks like an Angophora down on the
Yeah, that looks like
foreshore.
an Angophora.
Yeah. Now here, sadly, is all that remains of the
Yeah.
really ancient Banksia.
Very ancient.
That would have dated
coastal
to-
Banksia. Beautiful tree. And they're going to leave the trunk there,
Yes.
which I think is fine. Over here we have Nubby's kennel, which I had made.
And who is Nubby?
Nubby was one of her Scotty dogs. There we are, bark to enter. You get the sign there? It's not the original, I had it made from one of her comics. But what a sight, eh? So they're good. They're doing all the snapdragons and things like that.
This is one of my favourite of your
Nephew.
sculptures here.
Well, this is my nephew did this.
Oh, right.
And
so
of
it's not
course-
one of yours.
Yeah, I mean this is just taken out of her book. One of the Banksia men
Well,
running.
it's terrifying.
It is, and it was in the complaint about it in the Herald, you know, saying it was that it was
Too terrifying.
yeah. I can imagine how that terrified kids, you know. I'd like to know.
Well, you were one of them by the sound of it.
Yeah, I'd like to know what May'd have to say. And here's the lizard who's come to the rescue of the Banksia baby. So what a sight this is, isn't it?
Yeah, this is absolutely wonderful.
And I planted that Banksia tree there.
Oh.
We're going to try and keep it low,
Right.
try and not lose that beautiful view. And we've been doing some gardening down here because North Sydney Council's got a policy now is to have a harbour foreshore walk. So that I had that seat put down there. See the seat?
Yep, I can see it from here.
Yeah, Rob Emerson put that seat there.
Yep.
And that'll join up to Nutcote. Dick Galt from Nutcote built those lovely stone stairs. So, but no one's ever used it because of insurance or something. And oh my goodness, here's a little Orbelia down here.
Every other time I've seen little
Yeah.
Obelia, she's been above
I've never seen her below the water.
above the waterline.
So, if you look at this sign here, can you see little Orbelia out there on a rock in the water? Well, if you look straight down there, I've never seen her underwater before.
She's well
Can you
underwater.
see her down there?
Who was little Obelia, Peter?
She was a Banksia baby that lived underwater. Different strain of gumnut baby.
Right.
Yeah. There, you can just see her little hat. But I've never seen her underwater before. I don't know how that's going to augur for her survival, but she's been there a few years now.
You put that one in, yeah.
Well,
I'm sure
yeah.
it'll be fine. That metal, there she is, just
Yeah.
poking out
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the waves.
Yeah, she's very green.
So is that a copper?
That's
Or-
bronze.
It's bronze. Well, that'll
Yeah.
survive okay under
Um,
water.
I guess it will.
Yeah.
Nothing lasts forever, does it? You know.
Nothing lasts forever, but I think they're still pulling up bits of bronze from
Yeah, it's
shipwrecks
true, it's
that
true.
are many hundreds of
It's
years
true.
old.
So here's a great shot of the house from down here, which is the water house with the shutters. Can you imagine how nice the sky blue shutters will be with, Martin, there's Martin, get a shot of Martin. Martin. Martin Ellis. You're in the movie.
Martin Ellis, the Director of Community and Library Services, who's done so much for Nutcote over
That's
his
great, you're in the
decades here.
movie.
And he's retiring this year. The Cupid is not your inclusion, Peter.
No, it's me, Yvonne Hyde put that there.
She knew that May
Great
had a
interest.
soft spot for Cupids.
Very, very soft spot.
All this rock work
That's
is
original.
original too.
All original.
Yeah, and that's very typical of the era.
Yeah.
The house, I think, was finished in 1924.
Oh, was it? Yes. And the front door, maybe the front door should be that colour. That light colour.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Well, I'm not sure. Let's have a think about it.
Yeah. My sandwich boards. Tea room's now open. And there's another scene from the tea room. That's must be 20 years old now. Maybe. I'll bring this out here. Here we are. You come in here. If you just run the camera along here, these were comic strips to do with Nutcote.
We've
I went through all her comic strips and found things to do with the wharf and the house. Here is the view of the bridge. Hope you like it. This is a hand-coloured etching I did of May in the garden, which I sort of regret doing it in a way because she hated people copying her work.
But that's not a copy of her work. I mean, that's very clearly your
Yeah, that's the garden, yeah.
your work, and you've got the
Bank
gum-up
symbol.
babies in
Yeah,
the foreground or whatever, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
And here's the clock I did up here.
and there's the entrance to Nutcote.
Yep, I did that one too.
Right. What's
And
that done in, Peter? What's the
Pendle
medium
pen,
there?
Pendle pen. And there's a gum nut rescue there. I can't get in there.
Say that again, gum-nut.
So, a gum nut rescue. See all the
Gum-nut
gum nuts
rescue.
on the lawn?
Oh, right. With reference to what?
When they were trying to save the place.
Oh,
yeah.
right, okay, got it. Did you do the frieze at the back? Is that you?
Yeah, I did that too, yeah.
So you've contributed so much
Quite a lot, yeah.
to the place
yeah,
as a
yeah.
functioning house museum.
Yeah.
Why don't you get out and I'll
All
fix
right.
it? That's my problem.